Check one, check two. I think this is gonna throw off the audio.
Look who's talking now.
Bobby Shake said I don't need it, so first and foremost, guys, just want to thank everyone who came out tonight. Really appreciate you guys coming out.
If you mobbing, keep the bounce. Right now, knock them down like dominoes.
How we found this project. The project was found through word of mouth. I will say this, it was a pre-foreclosure. So the lady was facing foreclosure, and that's what you see with a lot of these deals. She was distressed. She was in a tough situation in this house. This house was basically totally gutted. Like what you see here did not exist. It was in really, really rough shape. And so she would have come up on the pre-foreclosure list. So that's one list that I want to share with you guys, which is still a valuable list. People say, oh, there's no money in pre-foreclosures because a lot of folks don't know how to do short sales. As a matter of fact, short sales are one of my favorite strategies on finding deals. And, I'll talk about that more later. But she actually had a little bit of equity. She had I think at the closing, she got like 10 grand. Tony, do you remember?
About 15 grand.
Yeah, $15,000 of equity, guys. Barely anything. So it just slipped out of being a short sale, which worked out for all of us because it was the win-win. She walked away with a couple of bucks, and we were able to get this property. So she was on that list, but it was basically through word of mouth. A former colleague of mine, Lillian, she's not here tonight. She was at the last meetup, but you guys will meet her. Called Tony, and Tony let me know about the deal, and I ended up purchasing the property. And so we found it essentially through word of mouth. But again, if you're looking to prospect, like this would have showed up on a pre-foreclosure list. So I want to make that clear. That's really important to remember if you remember anything about that. How we funded it, we funded this deal with hard money. So as you guys know, I'm a hard money lender. The name of my company is Boston Realty Funding. And we have a few members from Boston Realty Funding here tonight. Guys, raise your hands. There we go. A few lenders here. Carl, I saw you raise your hand real quick. Code it up a little longer, man, so people know who you are. This is Carl. He's our loan processor as well. Mauricio also does some loans. You have to find a way to come up with 20% down. Now, whether you raise that through friends or family, we have investment partners as well, or if you raise it all on your own, you have to find a way to come up with the 20% first and foremost. In addition to that, your rate's going to be around 12%. So people hear that and like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But let's kind of break that down a little bit. So 12% in the hard money world, guys, is really just 1% a month. So the faster you finish the project, the less you pay in your interest. Let me say that again. If you hold this project, it takes you 3 months to do a project, you only pay 3% interest. You guys understand that? Did everyone know that before? Gotcha. It's good. I'm glad I said that because a lot of folks, when they hear hard money, first and foremost, they think it's a loan shark loan. But a hard money loan is serviced just like a regular traditional loan, guys. You pay your mortgage every month. They send you a statement. And as long as you make the payments, you're good. But the key, again, is the faster you finish, the less you pay. And make sure any lender you deal with, like us, there's no prepayment penalty. Because I've seen some deals, guys, where they get you in like, oh, yeah, come on in. Yeah, we're 11% interest. We're lower than the other guys. But what they don't tell you is that no matter what, you have to pay a minimum of 9% when you sell. So like if it takes you 3 months, they're still going to hit you with 9. So make sure there's no prepayment penalties in there, guys. And then your points, typically you're going to be between 3 and 4 points on the hard money side. And points are basically a percentage point of your total loan amount. So if you're getting a loan of $100,000, you're going to look to be paying between $3,000 or $4,000 in a fee up front to get the financing. So that's how we funded this particular project. As far as what stage of the project we're in, we are finished, guys. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ivan. Isaac, appreciate that. This one is done. This one took a year, guys, and it was not intended to take that long, but being that it was on the water, we really wanted to try to maximize the value of this house. And so we had a bunch of different scopes. We were going back and forth. At one point, we had discussions about putting an elevator in here. There was a lot going on. And we ended up settling on something in the middle. It wasn't the bare minimum, but it wasn't as far as we could have gone because you got to be careful when you're flipping because you don't want to over-invest in the property, guys. So that's one thing we're very conscious of. And so that's why the scope you see here, I think it came out amazing. I think you guys would all agree. And the end buyers, they're just in love with this house. They are in love with this house. And we wanted to do this tour before it sold because it was really one of our favorite projects, one that we actually thought about moving into. We had a lot of conversations back and forth, but we love our house, we love our neighborhood, so we didn't end up making that decision. Our exit strategy from the beginning was to fix and flip, although like I said, it was not just a buy and hold, but it was a buy and live. But we decided not to do that. Pain points on this project, I think the planning phase was the hardest on this project. And this is something a lot of people don't think about, but had we gone with one of the larger scopes and said, you know what, full gut, let's, you know, put a garage here and raise the roof and go up a story, which we probably could have done, we would have had to go through a bunch of different processes on the permitting side. And so as a result of that, that would have triggered a much longer time frame, which again, more carrying costs means definitely less money in your pocket in the end. So we decided not to go with the scope and to really balance out what we did here. The inspector at the end of the job was like, all these other contractors around here wondering how you got away with getting this done so quick without having to go through zoning to get special approvals. And so that's one of the things, really understanding that side of the business really comes in hand in saving you guys money in the end. So that's really one of the things I think the struggle here was just trying to figure out how to navigate that without going over and causing ourselves to be in this project even longer than we needed to be. What advice would I give to young flippers, guys? I think the key advice, and I kind of touched on it early, is learn as much as you can and look to get a mentor. It's okay if your first flip, your first project, you partner up with someone. It's about making money long term, but really in order to make the money, guys, you have to acquire the skills. And the best way to acquire skills is to partner up with somebody that knows what they're doing. Hey, maybe the first couple of times you're not making the full margin yourself, but that's okay. What you're getting in return, you're basically like paying for an education. You know, you have to invest in yourself. You really have to invest in yourself. And when you do that, guys, the return will come back to you tenfold. I promise you. A lot of my team members know we've done stuff together all in here. And now a lot of them are on their own. Mr. Daniel, Jeanette, Tony, you know, we've all done stuff together, right? And then now, I mean, these guys are off to the races right now. We're trying to compete with each other. Like, all right, man, who's up next? You know, so friendly competition, guys. And it's been really a fun journey to kind of grow together. And we want to empower you guys through this group to do the same thing. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'll open it up to questions now, if anyone has questions. Really good question. And I have a video on YouTube about this from years ago, but find a local contract. I think the video's title is kind of cheesy, don't laugh. It was like, don't go local, go local. And so basically, in the sense of the video, it was find a local contractor, guys, that knows the local market because they know the inspectors know them. It's just a very different type of thing. Like I'm well known in Boston. I know a lot of Boston inspectors. So like they kind of help you out as opposed to like putting up that wall. Like, who are you? Where you from? Have you ever worked in Boston before? Like they could be extremely rude when you go to try to pull your permits. So I am a licensed contractor. That's something that I didn't share earlier, but knowing how to navigate that's key. And I think getting a local guy is super important. Or get someone who's diligent and is going to do their research on that local market so that they understand kind of how to navigate, you know, the process. Like even going just to talk to the contractor before you start the work. And anybody can do that, not just contractors, a homeowner, even if you don't even own property. You can go and ask about a particular parcel or ask about a particular home. These contractors love to feel important. The inspectors, they love to feel important. They love it. So when you go in there asking questions, they give you all the time you need a lot of times, guys. It's not like you would think. So I think that's really key there. That's a great question you asked, but going out to the building department is super important. And that's another side to flipping, something a lot of people don't think about. You want a home inspection proof the house. It's not about just building it or designing it to code. You want to make sure a home inspector is going to walk through here and not have anything to nitpick on. There really wasn't much, a few little items that he had us do, but nothing major. So super important. Great point, my love. Great question. So in some states, you have to pay for pre-foreclosure lists. In Massachusetts, it's actually available on the state website. So there's a list of people who are facing foreclosure that you can go, and then you have to take that information, skip trace that information, and then skip trace it, and then make the calls, connect with them with a script and different things. So I'll be doing some master classes and also some masterminds later early next year, where you can sign up, and then we'll do some courses, weekend courses, where you can actually learn like step by step how to take down some of these deals. So that's something, guys, that is important, again, with your planning process. So this was one where we got caught. So we bought this house, right? And this is interesting. I'm glad you asked that. A lot of homes, they're taxed as one thing, but the occupancy with the building department is totally different. And you see that a lot in Boston, a lot. There's a lot of 3 families that are actually legally 2 families. And when you go to pull a permit to try to do work, that's when it triggers the alert that, hey, when you say 3, they're like, especially like, this is a 2. Because a lot of times back in the day, people would just make their house what they wanted it to be. Now they're much more strict with the code. They're much more strict with occupancy, especially as the cities have grown in population. So this house, this actually was a 2-bedroom apartment on this floor. And then you had 3 bedrooms on the second floor. And the attic space, that's now the master suite, was just an attic. And so, yeah, it originally was a single. Usually in Boston, I always check. My team knows, we all check. We pull right, Daniel, Tony, we pull those jackets. Pulling the jacket means just going down to the building department and asking what's the legal occupancy of the property. And you can also pull up some other old permitting history and everything else. But really, that's what you want to know before you do any flip. I don't care if it, even if it looks like a single, it may legally be a 2. There was one on Lyndhurst Street that Tony had, and that's what I discovered that quick. Like, Tony, this is a 2-family. Go check the jacket. And sure enough, it was a 2-family. Yep. So, yeah, no, it's important to check the jacket before you close on anything because you could be surprised. For us, we actually were okay with that in this case because it plays better as a single, and the value for this home as a single family is much higher. So to kind of answer that too, this house was listed originally for $1,050,000. We ended up dropping it down to $999,000. And one of the areas that we missed the mark here, no garage. When you're selling $1 million property, guys, you got to have a garage. Now, we couldn't put one by right. We would have needed a variance. And by the time we figured it out, it was too late. So we ended up taking a little less, but we definitely got a good number. Can't disclose the number yet because it hasn't closed, but it'll be public information when it does. Yep. So, I think when you do a full gut rehab, definitely you're going to add value inherently. But yeah, adding additional living space in the form of an attic that's inside the existing envelope, finishing basements, making sure you finish it. Sometimes, depending on the code, depending on ceiling height, windows, if it's escapable window space, you can actually make it living area. Other times, it's just bonus space. It doesn't really count towards a living area. So what an inspector will say is, oh, yeah, you can finish the basement, but you can call it storage. And so that still adds some value, but not as much value, guys, as you would add if you actually turned it into living space, which just takes more time. Yep. So, but no, great question. But yeah, that's really what we try to do is maximize what we have. And then if there's a project we want to go above that, then we kind of assess if it's worth the time to get it approved. Yep. Yep. Great question, man. Great question. So one thing I always say, folks hear me say this all the time, you want an all-star team. And so really the first piece of the team, in my opinion, should be a real estate agent that knows the local market. And the reason I say that is that they're actually going to give you a realistic valuation of what the property is worth, as far as is, and then the ARV. Because in order for you to get funded and to calculate how much you can pay for a house, you need to first know what that max value can be. And who better than an agent who's willing to tell you for free? You don't have to get any software. You don't have to make any commitments to them. They're actually looking to grow their business. And so they will happily give you a CMA. But that's why you got to make sure you get someone good. You just don't want someone throwing numbers at the wall to see what sticks. So, definitely ways to vet them with online reviews. If you're in this market, we got plenty of agents on my team. If any agents want to raise their hands, they could definitely give you a valuation that I'm confident is going to be a real number in the end. So once you get that, you take 70% of what the ARV is, and then based on the total amount that you get, that's the total amount you could be in the project for between your acquisition costs and then your construction costs. And that's where you want to find an all-star contractor as well, who can help you actually get a realistic estimate. Because whatever's left after you subtract it from whatever, from the 70% rule figure, that's how much you can pay for the house. So like for argument's sake, if this ARV is $100,000, the max you want to be in the project for is $70,000. And then if your contractor says, oh, it's going to cost 20 grand, now you can offer 50. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that way you're doing it. So, there's a lot of resources and tools to find great contractors. A lot of websites that have ratings for contractors as well. But yeah, definitely for agents, there's definitely plenty of agents in here who can help you come up with the value. With that 70% rule, the reason that exists, essentially you're trying to get a net of 30% margin on the back end. But when you take commissions away and carrying costs, sometimes it ends up as 20, sometimes it ends up as 10, sometimes it ends up negative. And so that's where you really have to be careful. And the key is to win more than you lose with flips, guys, or any investment. You're not going to win every time. We haven't won every time. I can be the first one to tell you that. But you have to win more than you lose. So this, to get the buy and hold investment here, it would have had to probably be a 3-family to actually get a return that would have made sense. And that's additional work on the zoning side and everything else. So the house was legally a single family. If we were to hold this based on having, an $800,000 mortgage, you're not going to get enough of a return for it to make sense. So this would be a great family house. We thought about living in it. But where we live now, we love the location better. And we decided not to turn this in. And there's too much money tied up in this for us to just keep it. Honestly, that money's better served in our hands, working for us on other projects. And that's the thing, the emotional side of real estate. Never fall in love with a home, guys. Never fall in love with it, because it's just a property. It's an asset. Right. That's it. That's it. You want to be able to move quickly and make decisions not clouded by emotion. So that's really what it came down to. Yep. Excellent, guys. Well, definitely, we're going to wrap this up. We've got 15 minutes left. I want everyone to be able to tour the property. As I said, if you want to be on our list and you're not already on it, our email list for our next meetups and our next events and our master classes, talk to Mr. Peterson here. Can you raise your hand one more time, Peterson? And he'll get you on the list, guys, so that you're informed about the next projects that we have. And, definitely feel free to talk, connect, because this is what this is for, guys. It's not just me here. I have team members here to really support you guys in your growth and transformation of your business in 2020.
Look who's talking now. I got my way. We ain't backing down. School of hard knocks, capping down. If you mobbing, keep the bounce. Right now, knock them down like dominoes.
Sounds good, guys. So, no, I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Any questions you have for my wife and I, definitely feel free to come and talk to us. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions, guys. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys at the next one. Have a good night, everyone.
We ain't backing down. School of hard knocks, capping down.